Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is DJ Elbow Greasy coming to you live from New York City. I gotta stop saying that. I am not in New York City anymore. I've moved to the Bay Area, California, so I'm coming to you live from the Bay Area. And I am hella excited to share with you episode 3 of 14 of Tuesdays with Trump. Now, this has been an endeavor of mine. For those who don't know, I am a lover of politics. I study politics pretty much my whole life. Um, and I don't think I've ever met a political candidate like Donald Trump. And so, I was very ecstatic about the opportunity for Kamala Harris to become president. I wasn't as excited about Biden's candidacy, but I was going to support him. And I figured that this would be a labor of love, combining my interest in politics and my love for podcasting. And so, this week has been very interesting for me because not only did I lose a very close friend of mine over nothing, just, we're just not cool anymore. Some of my friends who I also love dearly, I've had to distance myself from them. And so, you know, as I continue to do this podcast, this is only my third one. It's, I think it's a personal opportunity for me to distance myself from people who are toxic, that don't have my best interest at heart, right? And so, yeah, thank you for those who are supporting me and who are giving me some feedback. And yeah, last week was the first week of back to work, so back to school. It was very interesting and love seeing my students. Um, and this is the start of week 2. So I look forward to it. Um, and, this is a very interesting week for Trump. Uh, August 13th to August 20th is the time period that we're going to be covering. Part of it overlaps with the start of the Democratic National Convention. I believe it started on Tuesday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think it started on Monday, right? I could be wrong. Maybe it was 4 days. Maybe it started on Monday. I don't remember. Um, but we'll address the Democratic National Convention next week. So that would be August 20th to August 27th, right? But hey, I mean, what a week, right? So, a couple of things we're going to talk about just to give you a heads up. We'll talk about grocery prices because that seems to be something that's on the mouth of Donald Trump constantly. We are going to talk about his obsession with crowd sizes and what does that mean as a metaphor? Like, what is he trying to tell his followers, right? We're going to talk about RFK Jr. Didn't make the ballot in New York, but I have not heard anyone explain why. I've heard people slightly mention it, but they don't really go into detail. I'm going to go into detail because I can't believe that this is a Kennedy, right? Or this is a Kennedy, right? Like this is their family, right? Like he's really like the bubble of what it means to be a Kennedy. Like he just burst it, not just with Donald Trump, but you know, yeah. Anyway, um, then there's going to be an opinion piece by Charles Blow. I haven't read it yet, and so this will be my first time sharing it with you. So I'm really, really excited about that. Um, And then there's this like really dope chart that the New York Times, by the way, all of these articles are from the New York Times, okay? There's a really dope article that the New York Times created where they're comparing the vice presidential and the presidential candidates, Republican and Democrat, in terms of like, you know, where they went to college and then what they did after college to the point of where they are now, right? And so you'll get a wide breadth of what they've accomplished or what they have tried to accomplish. Um, and then there's a really interesting article about Mar-a-Lago. What was Mar-a-Lago before Trump, and what has it become since Trump's? Uh, I don't want to say reelection, but reelection campaign. Yeah. And then the staying power of conspiracy theories. I mean, I got a slew. There's a chat group that I'm in, and a number of these folks, post messages that if you ask them, hey, who wrote this? Or do you know who this, or who put this out? Or who is this person that's actually, saying this stuff? And they can't, I've never, I've never got a response. So it's really interesting. So we're going to talk about like what happens when you put stuff out there in, the ether, and what happens to you when you respond to what you put out, right? Do you people stop following you, or does it increase your followers, right? um, and then did you hear about JD Vance and his obsession with uh, immigrants to this country and comparing them to gangs of New York? I'm not sure if you followed that, but it was quite embarrassing. And an advisor to the film chose to speak out against JD Vance, which was really interesting. And then we're going to take a look at our good friend George Santos, Jorge Santos. Um, and he pled guilty in federal court. Didn't seem to have made the news, but George Santos is also not a former New York City socialite businessman, right? Billionaire. So I just wonder what would happen if he, if the shoes were on the opposite feet, right? Like, is this a precursor to Donald Trump, right? So we'll see. And then we have a series of tweets, uh, posts, let's just say, posts on X that were done that didn't show, well, let's just say it came from the mind of Donald Trump, right? He chose to post a series of tweets that let's just say, his greatest hits from August 13th to the 20th, and and a very interesting repost. All right, so let's just get to it. Let's get into it. I'm gonna share with you my screen, and the first thing we're gonna share, we're gonna look at food prices. All right, so this is an article from the Times. So for me, it was on August the 14th. Somehow, I think on the New York Times website, it says August 13th. Um, and so, Trump has been talking about, one of the reasons that he wants to run for president is to get down the cost of food. But I think we have to really examine why food prices increased, and if they are going to go down. Is this something a president can control? Does Are there other factors that are out of um, their locus of control? Is it our fault, right? And so, I don't know about you, but I am a huge grocery store snob, right? I mean, it's not like I only shop at Whole Foods or these, obscure, expensive grocery stores, but I love to cook, right? So since I love to cook so much, uh, you know, you'll often find me in grocery stores. Um, but, as of late, I just haven't, I think starting this podcast, just haven't shopped as much as I like to. I gotta get back into that. but I really love grocery stores, right? I don't know if you ever heard um, Chris Rock talk about grocery stores and how it's like, you know, um, let's just say like one of his favorite, or he says it's like this thing where it's just kind of it shows the divide of America. In certain grocery stores, you walk in, you step on the like where we walk in, you step on the mat, the welcome mat, and the door opens and there's air conditioning, right? And other grocery stores, you walk in, the door goes the opposite direction, hits you in the face, right? So, yeah, I love Chris for that one. Anyway, so this article, how food prices have changed over the past 4 years. Grocery prices are no longer rising as rapidly, but food inflation remains a top issue for voters, polls show. So if I just scroll down to here, um, so it is true, grocery prices have risen since 2021 in May by about 1%. But then, as you can see, as time progresses, the grocery prices have gone up. 2022, 7%. And if we think about it, like, well, what happened during this time period, right? We're talking 2021. I know I moved to New York in 2019. So we were here, right? So during this time period, there seems to be an increase and decrease in prices, right? So the lowest is 2020. A lot of this is COVID, right? So after the pandemic's onset, consumers turned away from dining out, and panicked shoppers stockpiled groceries. Workers became infected with COVID, making it harder to staff grocery stores, warehouses, and meat processing plants, raising costs for businesses. Then in early 2022, Russia's invasion of Ukraine pushed up energy prices and the cost of commodities like grains and vegetable oils. That raised the cost of producing and transporting food products. More recently, droughts and an avian flu outbreak have further strained food supplies. So to me, it just looks like a confluence of this, great storm, right? You think about it, we got out of COVID around, I would say, 2021. We were trying to get out of COVID, but, you know, to see how it started to still peak in 2022, I know for a fact some folks were just like, well, I'm not going out at all. I'm just going to stay home, right? Um, the confluence of these events has made groceries more expensive as companies have passed along cost increases to consumers. All right. Um, so that just makes great sense. You can't just simply blame Kamala Harris for an increase in prices, um, claiming that it's simple inflation. It was a result of something that was out of their control, right? Um, as supply chains issues have eased, grocery inflation has returned to levels more closely more closely resemble the typical rates before the pandemic. So that's a good thing, right? Um, so shoppers should not expect to see a significant decline in overall grocery prices anytime soon. Um, so that's not a good thing, but I think it's just going to take time. And when you're running for president, you don't have the time to explain, but you can be honest with people and let them know, like, this is what's happening. So what I'm reading to you is not sexy, but it's real, right? Where food prices are headed, um, we are pretty much back to what you would expect to see food prices doing, said Omer Sharif, founder of the research firm Inflation Insights. Um, for instance, beef and veal prices were up 5% in through in the year through June. But economists have also noted that some products have dropped in price. Ham prices have fallen 4.3% from a year ago. Milk and seafood prices have declined 1% over the same period. It goes on. how grocery inflation remains a political issue. Um, so it mentions how high food costs continue to pose a political challenge for the Biden administration. And this is something that I think is going to be things that we're going to be examining throughout throughout the election, and it's something that whomever is going to assume the role of presidency, they will have to deal with, right? But I just wanted to make it abundantly clear that it's just not all, Joe Biden came in and decided to increase the prices on eggs. Like that's just silly. And I just hope that we can move past that and be a little bit more cognizant and conscious of, issues that are impacting our society. So moving right along, the next thing that I thought was interesting was a piece by Michelle Goldberg. So, to be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of Michelle Goldberg. If I'm not mistaken, she wrote a piece about Jamal Bowman that I thought created this hysteria about him. And I thought she could have written a piece that could have been a bit more inclusive of the support that he's also receiving in the Democratic Party and in his community. But I felt he wrote a piece that, or she wrote a piece that, um, let's just say, from the lens of of a concerned Jewish member of that district, to like just heighten the idea that Bowman may not be the candidate for your interests. So I was really upset with her. But interestingly enough, she wrote a piece about Donald Trump's big lie about Kamala Harris's crowds, right? So this piece also came out the same day as the grocery store piece on the 14th. Uh, on the website, though, it says August 12th, but on the physical paper, it came out on the 13th. Um, and so I think it's really interesting from this article because she makes the point that Donald Trump is trying to use this argument about crowd size in order to get people to be somewhat hysterical over the idea that Kamala is gonna could potentially win this election. So his theory is that, but look at my crowd sizes. There's no way we would have lost because I had more people at my events than she did, right? Um, so one way, so he talks about when Donald Trump says something ludicrous and unhinged, it is often difficult to tell if he's acting out of feral political calculation or narcissistic injury. And we saw this on Sunday when he claimed that Kamala Harris had used AI to fake an image of an enthusiastic crowd greeting her when she arrived in Michigan. Um, so the idea that this person, you know, would actually put out a post that the my candidate has more people and it's just generated by AI is just I can't believe this person's taken seriously as a presidential candidate. But um, he's screaming and yelling to his followers that they did not exist. And his argument is based on some conspiracy theory floating around the internet. Uh, but the idea is that, she said there's two ways of reading this. One way is that he is delusional, he's ignorant, and he's not someone to be taken seriously. Um, but then the other way of reading it, and she says, where does she say this was? I'll read it to you. Um, so it starts in the paragraph with those who refuse to believe that Joe Biden, right? Those who refuse to believe that Joe Biden won the 2020 election often cite modest turnout at Biden rallies or enormous audiences Trump ones as proof that the election was rigged. This was always an absurd argument. If there was if there was a direct connection between crowd sizes and vote share, Bernie Sanders would have been a Democratic presidential nominee. But it felt true to the members of Trump's base, who've convinced themselves that their movement represents the true expression of the national will. Some Trump fans certainly understand that they constitute a numerical minority in this country, but others are cloistered enough to believe Trump when he insists that he is overwhelmingly beloved, as he did at his Mar-a-Lago news conference last week. Oh, remember that one, when he claimed that the MAGA movement encompassed 75% of Americans. We know this is not true. I doubt many people registered this lie, jammed as it was amid so many others. But some of his diehard fans heard it and took heart. You know, if he's saying that, he has the data to back it up. And a post from a popular account on Truth Social, meaning this election is gonna be too big to rig. Sorry, said a post from a popular account on Truth Social. Um, yeah, I mean, it's just abundantly clear that Donald Trump is delusional. And apart from being delusional, it's abundantly clear that his followers are starting to become equally as delusional. And it's not based on race or the origin. I have friends who are, you know, West Indian in Canada, and they believe the same thing as, someone from the middle of nowhere in America and who probably doesn't live in a diverse community, right? But it continues. So she says it also validates. Let me find that part. Um, it also validates the belief that Trump will lose in November only if it's stolen again. The ebullient throngs at Harris events, as well as her climbing poll numbers, threaten the worldview that sustains election denialism, and so they must be dismissed. For many MAGA adherents on social media, it's an article of faith that enthusiasm for Harris has been manufactured as a part of a psyop against Trump. Whether or not Trump buys into this self soothing fantasy, he is encouraging his followers to be swept up in it. Um, and then she goes by insisting that Harris's support isn't real. Trump is bolstering the idea that if she prevails, it won't be legitimate. And then they talk about this Rolling Stones article. A Rolling Stone investigation published in July found almost 70 election deniers serving as swing state election officials. It quoted Mark Elias, a leading Democratic election lawyer, saying, I think we're going to see mass refusals to certify the election. In Georgia, the State Board of Elections, dominated by pro Trump members, recently adopted, I don't know if you heard about this, they adopted a rule that will empower these election deniers. It allows local boards to pursue a reasonable inquiry, a phrase that the state board didn't define, into election results before voting to certify them. This rule is likely to be challenged in court, but if it stands, we can expect a bunch of amateur investigations into purported voter fraud in districts that Harris wins, as well as outright refusals to sign off on the results. So for me, this tactic is just about delaying, delay, delay, delay. With every opportunity Trump has, he's just going to delay, right? Because he knows he can't win. And so instead, he will just delay. Um, a report from the Brennan Center for Justice, a law and policy organization, NYU, suggests that the rule should cause concern but not panic. And I'll be honest, when I read that, I felt better because I was somewhat panicking. I was like, we're not going to win this election. Not because we can't win, but because Trump is going to cheat and he's going to use the courts to support him. If a rogue official refuses to certify an election, every state has enforcement mechanisms in place to make sure that certification proceeds on time. I hope. But then I think about Stacey Abrams, right? Like some crazy thing that, Kemp, the governor, did, kicked off so many people from the election, from the polls, right? And they were just denied an opportunity to vote. Um, yeah, I'm starting to panic a little bit, but I should let it go. Um, we're going to move on to one of my favorites because I'm still appalled about this person. Yeah, well, let me just share my screen. Um, because this is, and I'm not gonna lie to you, like I am a huge fan of politics and political stories, etc. And when I see this man, I tend to see his father and his uncle. But let's be very clear. He had multiple uncles. He had an uncle, Ted Kennedy, who was having an affair with a woman, and in the process of driving this woman home, they got into an accident. And unfortunately, Ted was able to get out the car, the woman wasn't, and he didn't report it until the morning. So let's be clear about who these Kennedys are. They are not picture perfect. In fact, they are people who are the descendants of a father who was a bootlegger. Yes, John F. Kennedy's father and Robert Kennedy and Ted Kennedy's father, I think it was Joe Kennedy, was a bootlegger, right? In from New York, if I'm not mistaken, or he moved to New York to do his bootlegging, right? Um, so we have Robert Kennedy, and at the end of the day, he is still a Kennedy, right? I mean, out of respect for what his family has sacrificed for our country, but at what cost, right? Let's be honest. They could have gotten rid of J. Edgar Hoover, and they didn't. And J. Edgar Hoover, more or less, did everything he could to destroy the civil rights movement leading up to and beyond the Black Panthers, right? Um, it was not, I think it was Lyndon B. Johnson that did, a lot for the civil rights movement as opposed to, well, Kennedy was assassinated. Um, and I think his brother was going to step up and was doing a lot more. And unfortunately, he was assassinated. But, we have to kind of move on from this idea of Camelot because this judge didn't say, oh, because you're a Kennedy, I am going to take you off the ballot. No. And Kennedy did some things that I don't even know if I can forgive him for because I just yeah, y'all gonna you just gotta flow with me on this one because this is crazy. Um, all right, so it starts off by and it's three different people: Rebecca Davis O'Brien, Jesse McKinley, and Jay Root. So it says August 12th, but I have the physical copy on August 14th, right? And so it does fall in line with the 13th to the 20th time frame that I wanted to work with, right? So his independent presidential campaign was dealt a blow and that was on Monday, when a judge ruled that his petition to appear on New York's ballot was invalid, saying Mr. Kennedy had used a sham address to maintain his New York residency. So I'm thinking sham, like, ooh, that's somewhat of a harsh word, especially for a Kennedy. So I didn't really believe it until I started reading even further. The ruling, if it stands, would keep Mr. Kennedy off the ballot in a state where he lived for much of his adult life and could endanger his efforts to be placed on the ballot in dozens of other states. He has 3 days to appeal the decision handed down by a judge in Albany, New York. And it gets more salacious. A group of New York residents, backed by Clear Choice, a Democrat aligned political action committee, had challenged Mr. Kennedy's New York residency. Yes, go New York, go New York, go. Arguing that his campaign had used a false address on the tens of thousands of nominating petitions it circulated and submitted to place him on the ballot. First and foremost, New York City is small as fuck. You don't know how small it is until you've lived there. Now we're talking about a Kennedy. Yo, fam, New Yorkers will know if you are a Kennedy, whether or not you lived in New York. Yo, John, like, could not. That's the only reason why I know of Tribeca because of John. That's why I thought Tribeca was fly because of John, right? And so, like, I even knew that John lived in Tribeca. You think New Yorkers don't know whether or not Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is a New Yorker or actually physically lives in New York? So I'm going to spare you the salacious details and I'm going to get down to the part and find out the part that I thought was really interesting. Um, so it starts with as of Friday. Get through all of this. Sorry. As of Friday, Mr. Kennedy was on the ballot in 19 states, including the battlegrounds of Michigan and North Carolina. And the campaign has submitted petitions or filed for third party status in more than 20 others, including New York. Okay. New York residency is especially important to Kennedy, to Mr. Kennedy, I'm sorry, because his running mate, Nicole Shanahan, lists California as her home. Hmm. Under a constitutional quirk, presidential and presidential candidates who hail from the same state are ineligible to receive its electoral votes. In California, with its 54 electoral votes, is the biggest prize in the presidential election. So that's interesting, right? Because I'm thinking of Trump. Why didn't he choose Rubio? Why didn't he choose Byron Donalds? Then, if he did so, he would have to forfeit Florida for their electoral votes. Interesting. I didn't know that. Here we go. So it's implying that because Nicole Shanahan lives in California, Kennedy must live in California. And he's trying to say, no, now let me tell you something else. Bruh, Bay Area is damn small. LA, everybody in your business. So if you're living in LA or Bay Area, it is abundantly clear people will know who you are. They will. I'm sure you went to restaurants. I'm sure you were hobnobbing with the rich and famous as a Kennedy, etc. So let's get down to the brass tacks. Mr. Kennedy, he's 70 years old, an environmental lawyer, spends most of his time at a home and if you spend most of your time, that means you live there. I know you're upset that was it Rob Emanuel got a chance to become mayor of Chicago when clearly, it's very possible he didn't live there. But, bruh, this is how the rich and famous cheat on things. And then when they get caught, they get upset. And they're like, but wait, I was able to benefit off of this, that, and the third because I said I lived in New York, but you're running for president. And then the Constitution is involved, right? So, Mr. Kennedy, an environmental lawyer, spends most of his time at a home in Los Angeles that he shares with his wife, the actress Cheryl Hines. If you don't know who Cheryl Hines is, Cheryl Hines, well, maybe you don't know who Cheryl Hines is. So I'm going to show you who Cheryl Hines is. Hey, listen, can't tell me. I love Cheryl Hines, right? I mean, she was amazing on Curb Your Enthusiasm. Stopped liking her when I found out who her husband was. And I honestly didn't care much about, what her character on Curb Your Enthusiasm. I almost kind of low key stopped watching it, and oh, after it's interesting. Like she was no longer like a major figure on the show. Um, because I think they had a divorce and they moved on. But yeah, this is the love of his life, Cheryl Hines and John F. Kennedy Jr. So look, I wouldn't if I chose to marry an actress in Los Angeles, right? I'd I'd acknowledge that this is my new life. I'm an environmental lawyer, but I'm going to adapt California. It's like California can't you can't be a Kennedy. You can't run for office in California as a Kennedy. Are you out of your mind? You don't need New York, right? Just be a Kennedy. And New York would have loved you, bruh. New York would have like ran and made sure you were good, fam. But really, really, you can't just stay in California. You married to Cheryl Hines. Curb Your Enthusiasm had like what 12 seasons. Oh my god, this. All right, let's get back to this. So, um, but the petitions circulated earlier this year in New York listed an address for him in Katona, a hamlet about 45 miles north of New York City in Westchester County. So what is this Katona? I want to know where this Katona is. All right. So if I see it on a map here, Katona is here. How far from is Katona from New York City? 45 miles north of New York City. All right. So this is Katona here. Can we make this bigger? Oh, that's as big as it gets. All right. So if I Bedford Hills, so this is Westchester County. Okay, Chappaqua. That's where um, Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton have a home. I'm trying to go south, Sleepy Hollow, Tarrytown. Okay, so as you can see, you have Greenwich, Connecticut, Sanford, Norwalk, Fairfield. So this is the Bridgeport. This is Connecticut. White Plains. Katona is. I'm trying to figure out where's near. Oh wait, how many? About 45 miles north of New York City in Westchester County. Yeah, I'm going south. I think the further south I go, bruh, yo man. Okay, so New York City is here, but you could say you're relatively close to uptown, right? Because you have the Bronx, so you have Yonkers, so you're here in Harlem. Katona is Mamaroneck, White Plains, Scarsdale. This is the very, very exclusive. Armonk, the homies from there, Chappaqua. Katona is north of Armonk, north of Chappaqua, north of Mount Kisco, north of Bedford Hills. Katona's up here. Damn. Yeah, he's kind of far, bruh. I mean, I don't know, man. I'm under the impression it's probably absolutely gorgeous in Katana. I mean, look at these pictures. Jesus. Yeah, Katana is probably beautiful. Um, oh my gosh, look at that. That village. Ugh, breathtaking. I mean, if I'm a Kennedy, I would have a baller crib there. You know what I mean? Um, if you go on Zillow, I wonder what homes are going for in Katona. Let's see if I type in Katona, New York. Let's see. Let's see for sale. Let's see what cribs are going for. Okay. 3 bedroom, 2 bath house for sale. You got the pool and everything. 3.9 million crib. Okay, but you have a crib, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 675. Not bad. 539, 899, 739, 2.2 million, but I digress. 950. You are married to Cheryl Hines, my dude. You're telling me you can't get a $1.5 million home, 1.6. You can get just buy property, bruh, and flip it. You know what I mean? You can get a crib. So there are cribs for sale in Katona. So if someone's trying to say I live in Katona, I would assume they mean you're trying to say that I have a home as such in Katona, correct? All right, let's get back to the lecture at hand, right? So let me close this screen and then let's start to share. Okay, let's get back to John F. Kennedy Jr., Robert F. Kennedy Jr., I'm sorry. For decades before he moved to Los Angeles in 2014, he lived in New York where he raised a family and a long fought for cleaning up the Hudson with the group Riverkeeper. Great. Lawyers for the voters who were seeking to invalidate his ballot access petition say the Katona address belonged to a friend, that he never lived there. Well, that sounds crazy. So the trial began August 5th. Mr. Kennedy's lawyers did not give an opening statement. I'm sorry. Yo, I'm paying you and you don't give it. Wait, I'm a lawyer and I got lawyers doing a job for me and you're not going to give an opening statement? But in a statement posted on the campaign's website, they said he received mail in Katona and had driver's fishing and falconry licenses from New York. Does that say falconry license? I live in the Bay Area. I have a New York driver's license. But just because I have a New York driver's license doesn't mean I don't live in California. I do live in California. Like, so because you have a falconry license in New York, that justifies that you live in New York. Your wife is Cheryl Hines' son. You don't have a home of your own. I just showed you cribs you could have purchased and had other people living in there to make sure that it's cool and you can come up for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, or some shit. You know what I'm saying? Or spend 6 months, but you don't. What? I'm confused. New York has been his residence continuously since 1964, and Mr. Kinney has deep ties to it, Mr. Savino said in a statement. He intends to move back to New York as soon as his wife retires from acting. Who is Mr. Savino? Oh, I'm sure it's his attorney. I'm so confused. So you're acknowledging that yeah, that's his lawyer. My God. So you're acknowledging that his wife is a pretty boss actress and she has not stopped acting, so that therefore she's not moving to New York and you're living there with her. During the 4 day hearing, the lawyers for the four voters who brought the suit called Barbara Moss, who owns the house in Katona. Okay, here we go. Mr. Kennedy stayed in a spare bedroom. I'm sorry, what? You're a Kennedy living in a spare bedroom in Katona, New York. Not like Giuliani when he was separating from his wife and he stayed with a gay friend in Manhattan. And no, not that. Not Giuliani before he moved out would bring his girlfriend over to the mayor's mansion, and the son, Andrew, who tried to run for governor, would encounter the girlfriend and his wife in the mayor's mansion fighting, and he was traumatized. Not that. No, this dude decided to say he stays in a spare bedroom. The bedroom was the bedroom was referred to in the judge's ruling Monday. The court finds Kennedy's testimony that he may return to that bedroom to reside with his wife, family members, multiple pets, and all of his personal belongings to be highly improbable, if not preposterous. When people use words like that, that's not what they really want to say. But because they can't say what they want to say, they'll use these big words, right? If I'm saying, yo, what you're saying to me is highly improbable, if not preposterous, I really want to say, man, you're full of shit. Facts. Like, that makes no sense at all. And you're a Kennedy. So your Falcons are chilling with you in this bedroom. Cheryl Hines, who is choosing not to give up her career in Los Angeles, is staying with you in your bedroom and you're running for president. She concluded that Mr. Kinney had demonstrated a long standing pattern of borrowing addresses to keep up the appearances of New York residency. Yeah, I think an idiot could figure that out. The Katona home, the judge said, was merely a sham address. Now I get the sham thing, right? Makes sense. That he assumed for the purpose of maintaining his voter registration and furthering his own political aspirations in this state. You mean to tell me you are so intent on running for office in New York that you're going to pretend to still live in New York and you. But wait, there's more. Miss Moss, whose home is in foreclosure proceedings. Fam, you could have bought the house. Cheryl could have bought the house. Now it's in foreclosure. You're living in a home, allegedly, that's going to be up for foreclosure, and you're running for president. And this is the state that you are so connected to. Au contraire, mon frere. Miss Moss, whose home is in foreclosure proceedings, testified that Mr. Kennedy had recently started paying $500 a month to rent a bedroom. Wait, wait, had recently started paying $500 a month. You gotta be lying. You're. But she also revealed that she had started to receive those rent payments only in late May, shortly after the New York Post wrote a story questioning his residency. My dude, late May, you start sending payments for $500 a month. I'm so confused. David Michaels or Michaelis, David Michaelis and Nancy Steiner, a couple who owns a Westchester home that Mr. Kennedy previously listed as his New York address for several years, flatly denied that their house qualified as his New York residence. This man is a liar. This is not someone you can trust. This is not someone who deserves an opportunity to be president of the United States, let alone a cabinet position in the White House. Ms. Steiner said on the stand that they had been shocked to see themselves represented in the news as his landlord. In the sworn affidavit, Mr. Kennedy had called Mr. Michaelis my friend and landlord and said his friend had asked him to move out of the home in 2023. After which, Mr. Kennedy switched his address to Mrs. Moss's house. Mr. Michaelis called that a fiction. You know, that's not what he wanted to say. I call that a fiction. Miss Steiner said that Mr. Kennedy had been a family friend for decades, but the relationship had hit the rocks when Bobby started chanting certain conspiracy theories. Oh, now here we go. Like, we were good until you started acting crazy. That sounds about right. I'm not fucking with you anymore because you went crazy. Mm. The trial in Albany often veered into odd territory with discussions of falconry. Nope. And Mr. Kennedy's fondness for ravens. Nope. And his attempts to train a pair of those birds at his home in Los Angeles. Nope. So that's what I'm saying. How are you? Mr. Kennedy's testimony had been immediately preceded by a bizarre incident in which the candidate confessed to collecting a dead bear. That's right, you the same dude with the bear cub. Off the side of an upstate highway in 2014, and then, in a prank, dumping the carcass in Central Park. Mr. Kennedy revealed the bear dumping in a video he posted on social media just before a critical New Yorker profile that included the same anecdote was published. After the bear story became public, resulting in a barrage of public criticism and mockery, Mr. Kennedy sought to fire back, placing a post on X.com Tuesday attacking the mainstream media. The more you smear me, Mr. Kennedy wrote, the more I'll keep speaking. There, like, I think it was when Brett Favre got caught. There was like the fall of like the white man in society that we all like adore, and I'm not saying we, but I'm saying the media adored and would put on this pedestal, and they just couldn't believe someone like Brett Favre would do all these disgusting things, right? So things just started coming out, and then even with you know Tom Brady, when things came out about him and his wife, and he did the roast, and it was just tasteless. I don't think cisgendered white males understand that we're not living in a society now that will just willingly put you on a pedestal because you are a straight white male. And it's not a society that's attacking you because you're a straight white male. It's a society that now realizes that you have gotten away with some shit your whole life. And we're not going to take it. No, we're not going to continue allowing, white folks to just continue promoting themselves as better than. You know what I mean? Like you're just as good as we are. Um, you're not superior. And I think this is a great indication of it. Unfortunately, I don't think JD Vance has been notified about this, right? I think he stopped caring and thinks he's still living in the era where he's the shit. You know what I'm saying? Um, which leads us to my love, Kamala Harris. Now, let me be honest with you. Like, I don't love Kamala Harris. I get frustrated because I do feel like Kamala Harris does somewhat represent, a part of America that's extremely bougie. But let's be honest, Kamala didn't come from that. You know what I'm saying? I think Kamala came from hard work. A mother who is an immigrant to this country, a father who is also not from America, right? Jamaican, right? And so I think they encouraged her to work really hard. Having lived in the East Bay, lived in Oakland, lived in Berkeley, uh, become like going off to Montreal, where I'm sure she was upset, didn't want to be there, but then going to Howard, making moves, coming back from Howard. It's not easy to work in the Bay Area. It's really not. To be district attorney of San Francisco, are you out of your mind? You're the first person of color to have that position. So that's why I get upset because they make it seem like she's the only one that's ever put anyone in jail in San Francisco. Yet she's the first person of color that's ever been district attorney. I mean, come on, man. I don't think we're giving her enough credit. So we might as well get to this article by Charles Blow about a nasty woman striking fear in Trump. So I haven't actually read this article. The only part of it I read was just like the very first paragraph. And so let's get to it. You know what I mean? Um, where are we here? All right, I'm going to share my screen with you. Shout out to Charles Blow. Another nasty woman strikes fear in Trump. Misogyny has been central to Donald Trump's identity, rise, and political movement, but it is now central to his distemper as Kamala Harris's remarkable campaign rollout has frustrated and unnerved him. Part of his brand has been that even churlishness is better than anything that even hints at girlishness. That is so true. Trump praises autocrats, male autocrats, that is, calling them strong, smart, savvy. He even once described Kim Jong un as honorable. Surely visions of unrestrained power dance in his head. But when Trump talks about women who in any way challenge his power, his rhetoric drips with sexism. In recent da- excuse me, in recent days, he has referred to Harris as incompetent, nasty, and not smart. Behind closed doors, he has repeatedly referred to her. He has reportedly referred to her repeatedly using the B word. I agree. Not I agree. I agree with that statement. Is there a nexus? Writing in 2022 for Foreign Affairs, the Harvard Kennedy scholars Erica Chenoweth and Zoe Marks explain that the 21st century is demonstrating that misogyny and authoritarianism are not just common comorbidities, but mutually reinforcing ills. Authoritarian, authoritarian tendencies and misogyny rise together, illustrated in Trump's case, not only by the things he says to and about women, but also in the way his worldview seems to inform some of his policy positions. He was hoping, in part, to ride gender inequality, his efforts at dismantling reproductive rights, and his co signing of anti trans hysteria to a second term. Mm, mm. The distillation of Trump's patriarchal bent is his implicit message that the status of men, particularly white men, is under attack by the undermining of his version of traditional norms of masculinity and the rising stature of assertive women and minorities. This is one of the main reasons Harris has disconcerted him. Her campaign, that of a confident, upbeat woman of color, is more or less the antithesis of his. So Trump has fumed about Joe Biden being a sort of stalking horse for Harris, forcing Trump to spend months for naught, campaigning against the president rather than the vice president. So far, he has come across as rigid, ornery, seemingly unable to contain his fury that a woman, this woman, is threatening a victory that he felt was ensured. In a way, Trump has been reaching into an old playbook to attack Harris using sexist tropes that he has used before against female rivals and critics. Tropes that were sadly more effective in 2016 against Hillary Clinton, but now feel shop worn and make him look more pathetic than potent. On Monday, during a rambling conversation with Elon Musk broadcast on X, Trump called Harris's replacement of Biden at the top of the Democratic ticket a scam and a coup. It was reminiscent of all the times that Trump suggested or said outright that Clinton had stolen the Democratic nomination from Bernie Sanders. So true. Put together, it's hard not to come away with the conclusion that in Trump's mind, the only way that these women could have emerged as their party's standard bearers and as his rivals was as a result of some sort of skullduggery. Skullduggery. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. And he almost never misses a chance to unleash one of his sexist asides, even when talking about policy. During their third debate, Clinton discussed how and why she planned to raise taxes on wealthier Americans like her, and Trump punctuating her explanation with, assuming he can't figure out how to get out of it. His retort was really no surprise. Such a nasty woman. Yo, dude. As my newsroom colleague Claire Kane Miller wrote at the time, insults of powerful women by men perform a particular role. Researchers say cutting them down to size and playing into discomfort with women in power. Ever since Harris became Democrats' presumptive nominee, Trump has consistently strayed from the issues that people care about most to take personal, often superficial swipes meant to denigrate her, but that only illustrate his insecurity. Toward the end of his discussion with Musk, Trump complained that Harris was getting a free ride, citing her recent Time magazine cover portrait, which he seemed to suggest was too flattering. She looks like the most beautiful actress ever to live, he said. This coming from a man who a few years ago was revealed to have displayed a fake Time cover with his face on it. All this points to the fragility of Trump's masculine pose. It also exposes his fear. A woman of color twice disadvantaged in the white male dominated patriarchy is threatening the position of a man who has become the totem of that patriarchy. Let's go. Let's go. Oh my God. Oh, oh my God. I mean, this literally reminds me of what I'm going through. I have, a friend who I think is a good dude, but, you know, he just doesn't accept the idea that Kamala Harris is a worthy candidate. And I tried talking to him and he called her a bird. And I'm trying to be respectful. Like, I want to say, fuck you mean? But I'm like, yo, what do you mean by she's a bird? Like, I don't get it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand that. Um, Another friend who will criticize Kamala for everything, but won't criticize Trump for anything, right? And so I also don't understand how some men don't recognize the misogyny when they see it. Like, you're calling her out because she's a woman. Why do we know that? Because we have that. It's us. It's men who are being misogynistic, and we need to take a stand against misogyny and make it abundantly clear we stand behind this strong, amazing, intelligent, hardworking, fearless woman. Cornel West, I'm sorry. I have lost 1,000% respect for you. I literally don't know who you are. You know you're taking an opportunity from a biracial Jamaican Indian woman. You know that. You have no chance of winning. You won't sit this out for the culture. And you make it seem as though Kamala, like, I get it. I know. I know. There are issues that, you know, you got to stand on principle. I get it. But come on, man. This seems to be a little something deeper. You had an issue with Obama, so now you're going to take that out on Kamala. Did you run against Biden? How far did you get when you ran against Biden? Did you run against Trump? Or some shit. I don't know. Bruh's being weird, man. Bruh's being weird. Let's move on. So this was really interesting. Uh, they created this chart that I think is amazing that compares the career timelines of Trump, Vance, Walz, and Harris. So let's look at Tim Walz. So he was born, so he's here, right? He's born 1964, West Point, Nebraska. 81, he was in the U.S. Army National Guard. He was active through 2005, so that's 24 years. Um, he went to Chadron State College. He was a student there. He got his bachelor's degree in social science and 19 social science education in '89. So it was after 8 years. So he finished school. Wait, 2005. He's a U.S. active serviceman. Yo, he became a teacher in '89. Like after he graduated from college, he went straight into teaching. He taught high school in China, Nebraska. Oh, in China. I'm sorry. China, Nebraska, and Minnesota until 2006. But yo, check it. 2005. So he was a teacher and in the U.S. National Guard. Come on, man. You're a teacher in '89, and then you leave the National Guard in 2005. So we're not even acknowledging that he was a teacher and a In 97, he was in the Minnesota State Mankato student. Minnesota State Mankato. He had a master's degree in experimental education in 2002. Minnesota State Mankato. So, he was a student at Minnesota State Mankato. Oh, I don't know what the heck. Can we look that up? What is Minnesota State Mankato? Let's see. Oh, Minnesota State University in Mankato. Say no more. Got it. It's a public university in Minnesota. Okay. So, eh, let's get back to this. So he was a student. Good God. So 97, it's like he got his master's degree in experimental education. Or he enrolled in 97 and he got it in 2002, which would make sense because you're also in the National Guard and you're working as a teacher and then you get your master's. And then 2003, U.S. Army National Guard servicemen served in Operational Enduring Freedom, achieved rank of Command Sergeant Major. Okay. Still an educator in 2005. And then you became a candidate for the U.S. House in 2006. I think you left the service in 2005. Okay. So you left the service in 2005. You became a U.S. candidate in 2006. And then you became a U.S. representative. So you won that election in 2007. Got it. That was 17 years ago. And you became governor in 2019. So 12 years after being in the House, you became a governor in 2019. Damn. And the vice president. And you've been governor for 5 years. All right, let's compare Waltz to J.D. Vance. Let's check this out. All right, so he's born in Middletown, Ohio. Shout out to Ohio in 84. Dude, you're 20 years younger than Harris and Waltz. I'm sorry. You're what? You're 38 years younger than Trump? No. Trump was born in 46. You were born in 84. Are you serious? All right. 2003, you become U.S. Bro, I was born in 76. This dude's younger than me. You went, you served in the U.S. Marine Corps in 2003. Operation Iraq Freedom. So 2003, I became a school teacher, and this dude went over and served in Iraq when I became a school teacher. 2007, he started college. He got his bachelor's degree in political science and philosophy in 2009. In 2010, so he finished school in 2 years. I don't understand how that worked. Maybe while you're in the Marine. Oh yeah, that's right. Because you were in the Marines, but weren't you a writer in the Marines? You wrote for the paper or something like that. You get into Yale. You finish in 3 years. Great. 2010. Wait, so when you get into Yale Law School, Tim Waltz is already a U.S. representative in Congress. So he's a member of Congress, and you're in law school, and then you become a venture capitalist, and while being a venture capitalist, you publish Hillbilly Elegy, 2016, and then you become a candidate for the U.S. Senate 5 years later in 2021. At that time, Tim Walz has already been governor. You become a senator in 2022, and then vice president 2 years. Oh my God. What is wrong with these people? I don't get it. All right, so Kamala, born Oakland, 64, right? Crazy time to be in Oakland. 64? What? That's insane. I mean, we're talking the 60s in Oakland. Insane. When she was 18, she became a student at Howard, finished with a degree in political science and economics. 86, so after she graduates, she goes to Hastings, now University of California College of Law, and graduates 89, and then becomes deputy district attorney in Alameda County in 90. Okay. Deputy district attorney. Interesting. Of Alameda County. Oh, that's no joke. So you graduate, and right after you go to district attorney in Alameda, that means you prosecuting crimes over here in in Albany County. That includes Oakland. And then 98, you become a prosecutor for the Career Criminal Unit at San Francisco's District Attorney Office and San Francisco City's Attorney's Division on Families and Children. Damn. And then you become the district attorney in 2004, so 6 years after that. Wait, when were you in? Okay, 8 years you were deputy district attorney in Alameda County? God damn. And oh, became attorney general after being district attorney? Fuck. So you're the lead attorney of the state of California 7 years later. And then 2017 became a U.S. Senator. 2019 he became a candidate for Democratic presidential nomination. And he became a senator in 2020. Okay. So here's the thing. You became a senator in 2017, right? And then 2019 you ran for the president, and then you became a U.S. Senator again, representing California in 2020, but then become Vice President in 2021. I mean, that's still 4 years, though. Like, give her credit. Like, it's not like she became a senator and then just left, right? And then presidential candidate 2024. Okay. Save the best for last, right? So, homie is 18, goes to Fordham. Then he transfers to. Oh, he went to Fordham for 2 years. He made it seem like he was at Fordham for 1 year. He was at Fordham for 2 years. Then he went to UPenn and for 2 years. Okay, and then he was a businessman starting at 68. He ran his father's real estate company. Wait, 68? He ran his real estate company? He started in 68? How old? He was born in 46. He was 22. He's at 22 years old. They let him run his father's real estate company at 22. Okay. I'm looking for something else he's done. These other people went to law school, deputy district attorney, teacher. I'm still looking. Oh, he's in his 30s. He's still running his dad's company. He's a lawyer, venture capitalist. Okay, deputy district attorney. Okay, now after your 30s, let's go into your 40s. You went and did something, right? Dude. He's 35 doing the same shit. look at all these other people, what they're doing. Okay, when you got to 40, you did some other shit, right? He's doing the same job. You're 40 years old. That means from, uh, I can't get into this. You're 40, you still ain't got nothing else on your resume other than the job you had when you started when you were 22. Okay, maybe when you're 50, you do something different, right? 45, you still doing the same shit. He's 50 years old doing the same goddamn thing he was doing when he was 22. That's 28 years. Why do people respect this dude? I don't understand. Oh my God, 55. Okay, he's the host of The Apprentice in 2004. Is that a job? And went to become a presidential candidate. He became a presidential candidate in 2015. There's something wrong, man. President in he actually became president in 2017. Back to businessman, Truth Social. Ooh, yeah, this guy's going to jail, man. You can't. This guy's going to jail. Like you can't tell me anything. Like there's no way. The only job you've ever had is the job you were given when you were 22 years old. That means you've never created a resume. Your resume has one thing. Company handed to me by my dad. That's it. You've done nothing else at all. Celebrity Apprentice. What? Like no one respects you, dude. Like for real. You've done the same thing for 20, not 20. You've done the same thing your whole since you were 22. All you've done is gone to Fordham and Wharton. That's it. I'm just, I mean, this is. I mean, okay. Listen, I have nothing against him. I think what it is like we have to be honest with who these people are that respect this man. Because there's nothing wrong with not with having a thin resume or lack thereof. There's nothing wrong with it. In fact, there's nothing wrong with people who've just been handed opportunities. There's nothing wrong with that. There's something wrong with those others who just decide to put them on a pedestal. And that's where we're headed now. We're looking at Mar-a-Lago. Okay. We're looking at how Mar-a-Lago became this place um, where extremism is good for business. Like this is sick. The visuals will speak for themselves, right? You remember what this looked like, right? I mean, it just. I believe this is what Mar-a-Lago looked. No, I think he was in the White House when he decided to say that in fact we did win the election, right? Um, oh man, I'm afraid to know what's going to happen here.
Mar-a-Lago is the touchstone. It is the bedrock of the America First populist movement.
The headquarters for patriots, right here.
This group of people right here, these are true patriots.
Donald Trump, USA.
Donald Trump 2024. Ah!
Yeah, Ryan Garcia. At Mar-a-Lago, conspiracy theories and fear mongering take the ballroom stage. They're the Pizzagate hoax, centering on outlandish claims of a pedophilia ring among prominent red Democrats, is real. The 2024 presidential election is more than a political contest. It is a struggle between good and
We are in a battle of good versus evil.
Good and evil.
Pizza indeed is a pedophile code word.
We are going to fight. We're going to take them to the gates of hell.
I don't know what I just saw. I don't understand what I'm looking at. Is that Vivek Ramaswamy? A vast majority of gala events held at the club since January 2021 have been sponsored by individuals and organizations aligned with Mr. Trump's style of politics. The Times found, and those who oppose MAGA conservatives and its pervasive insistence that the 2020 election was stolen are excoriated.
A fringe minority who hates this country, bringing communism to our shores.
They destroy life and freedom and family.
Radical, atheist, Marxists.
These radical left lunatics want to interfere with our elections.
They think they can continue to steal elections.
The election that we all knew was stolen.
If we don't have a fair election, right, then we don't have a country.
Donald J. Trump. He's the only hope we have in our country. That's what I think. Don't you agree?
We love you!
The greatest president since Abraham Lincoln, Donald J. Trump.
So, I like how they say it wasn't always this way. Before Trump became president, Mar-a-Lago was a magnet for Palm Beach society, hosting opulent galas from fall through spring that raised funds for some of the nation's most prestigious charities. Political events were rare during the 2014-15 season, the last before Mr. Trump officially entered politics. The Times counted 52 fundraiser events at Mar-a-Lago. Of them, just one was political. Interesting. The Republican Party of Palm Beach County's annual Lincoln Dinner. Okay. Wow. And then 15, you had two, looks like. 16, you just had one. Okay. So traditional charities began peeling away from the club in August 2017. After then, President Trump said there were very fine people on both sides of a violent rally to save a Confederate statue in Charlottesville, Virginia. So does he not realize like being racist is bad for business? Of the groups that departed, 10 moved their events to Mar-a-Lago. Mar-a-Lago's chief rival in the Palm Beach banquet business, the Breakers Resort. I've never even heard of that. Groups aligned with Mr. Trump's politics have taken their place. Turning Point USA, a right-wing student organization, began hosting an annual gala at Mar-a-Lago in 2018. America First Policy Institute, a nonprofit set up in 2021 by former Trump administration officials, has thrown an America First gala at Mar-a-Lago every year since its founding. America's Future Inc., a group led by Michael Flynn that has amplified the false conspiracy theory, that a global cabal of pedophiles controls the media and politics, has held two events, as has the Border 9/11, founded by Thomas Homan, who served as acting director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement during the Trump administration. So as you can see, the winter gala season at Mar-a-Lago since Trump left office, the non-political events are in gray, which only seem to be a sprinkle, and the handful of political events including the 2000 Mules premiere. Oh my God. America First Policy Institute in 2020, October 20. I don't know when that was. November of 2022. Jesus. It just became a place for Trump to do his crazy shit. Border 9/11 gala? Is it a gala about the border or is it a gala about 9/11? I don't understand. Event organizers, speakers, and attendees use their proximity to display loyalty to and admiration for Mr. Trump. They say he is the greatest president in modern history, the history of America, or since Abraham Lincoln. They gave him awards? American Defender of Zion, Founding Fathers, and America's Champion for Children. They tell him they love him and sing songs in his honor. The hell am I reading? Okay. So the presidential race is not only one rooted at Mar-a-Lago. A visit to the resort has become an essential right for Republican candidates. Since 2021, more than 60 Republicans in or running for Congress or state office have spent money at Mar-a-Lago, most on fundraisers. Their ultimate objective, securing an endorsement or surprise appearance from Mr. Trump. So if I want to run for office and I'm a Republican, I have to spend money at Mar-a-Lago on a fundraiser for Trump. According to federal and state campaign finance filings through the first quarter of 2024, more than $4.7 million has been spent on the property by candidates and political committees since Mr. Trump left the White House and made Mar-a-Lago his permanent residence. Mr. Trump's campaign and super PACs supporting it made up about a quarter of that total. This is disgusting. Literally. Wow, each circle represents the one political expenditure paid to Mar-a-Lago. Circles are scaled by the amount of money spent. So the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee spent $17,000 at Mar-a-Lago in 2008. Each circle represents one political expenditure paid to Mar-a-Lago. Circles are scared by the amount of money spent. Some of the biggest payments came from Mr. Trump. Own political coffers. His campaign. How is your campaign spending money at Mar-a-Lago? That means you're paying yourself. The Republican National Committee spent $175,000 in 2022. A political action committee supporting Mr. Trump spent $209,000 this past February. So they're just giving this dude money. Oh God. What is this? $16 tequila Patrons. So 16 tequila Patrons for $240. So I got 5, that's 80. If I wait, how much was the tequila? Oh, that's like $18, bro. Oh no. The Trump Organization is a private business, and for years very little was known publicly about the financial health of its clubs, including Mar-a-Lago. But that changed when Letitia James, get it, the New York Attorney General, sued Mr. Trump for exaggerating the value of his properties. Detailed records of the club's finances were made public as evidence. Yo, what is this? 6 Woodford Reserves, that's $16 each. 10 Don Julio Blancos. Chopin, what? So it came for a total of $838. You gave a service charge of $167 for what? Sales tax $70. The total is 1,000. Oh my god! Oh, you gave them a $70 discount because it's the White House. The records show that Mar-a-Lago actually lost money in 2012, but then its profits began to climb as Mr. Trump entered politics. They hit a peak in 2017 as the club added new customers, including the U.S. government, which paid for bedrooms used by Secret Service agents and liquor drunk by Mr. Trump's aides, without losing its existing ones like the charities that rented out the club's ballrooms for fundraiser galas. But many of those charity customers began to flee Mar-a-Lago during Mr. Trump's presidency, with operating profits bottoming out at $4.2 million in the COVID-stunted year of 2020, according to analysis by Lawrence Hirsch, a consultant hired by James. My God. Net profit by year at Donald Trump's clubs. So 2020, $5 million. And then, oh my God, it just went up 10 million, 15 million. So he just started making crazy money. One major reason for the increase said that Mar-a-Lago had raised its membership initiation fee to $600,000. The fee, which entitles the club's roughly 500 members to use its dining rooms, beach club, tennis courts, and other facilities, had been just $100,000 when Mr. Trump won the 2016 election. Yo, you stole an election, tried to steal an election, and then increased your fee by $500,000. The club's new members paid $12 million in initiation fees in 2022. Oh my God, 12 million. Mr. Christoph's record showed money that was effectively all profit for the club. Another reason for the club's surge, Mar-a-Lago reported $11 million in profits from its food and beverage operations, which appeared to include both the club's member dining areas and its catering business. Mar-a-Lago has 2 large ballrooms that host banquets, weddings, and private parties. The Trump organization did not respond to questions about whether the club had raised its rates for banquets, and the turnover among its customers makes it hard to compare the cost of the same events from year to year. But one of the club's steadiest customers, the Republican Party of Palm Beach County, reported paying more. Its Lincoln Day dinner in 2023 cost $318,000, up from $158,000 in inflation-adjusted dollars. We're talking inflation, and this dude is charging $318,000 when it used to be $158,000. And I was talking to you about inflation. Oh my God. I am disgusted about what I'm seeing here. Okay, who are these? What in the fuck am I looking at? More than 24 speakers from the Reawaken America tour, a far-right Christian nationalist roadshow led in part by Mr. Flynn, have visited Mar-a-Lago since Trump left office. Many have been there more than once. Dinesh D'Souza, right-wing commentator turned filmmaker, has held premieres for at least 2 movies at Mar-a-Lago. 2,000 Mules, which promoted the lie that the 2020 election was stolen, and Police State, with alleged high-level weaponization of the justice system against conservatives. Weren't you in prison and didn't he commute your sentence, give you a pardon? You're supposed to be in prison. Oh my God. Siggy Flicker, the Real Housewife of New Jersey, and a current spokesperson for the right-wing Jewish organization Jexit, Jews Exiting the Democratic Party, joined the club last year and has become a frequent president. Jexit. Oh my God. Jack Posobiec, a hard right podcaster who has promoted disinformation and has had dinner with Mr. Trump and attended multiple galas. Who is this clown? An April fundraiser for Carrie Lake, Mr. Trump praised Laura Loomer, a provocateur who twice ran unsuccessfully for Congress, who has said she supports white nationalism. What the fuck is going on? The Times identified more than 130 people who've attended events at Mar-a-Lago, 3 or more times since Mr. Trump left office. Some are members of the club, while others are frequent visitors. They come from all sorts of backgrounds. 15 are professional athletes or entertainers. Hover or tap to see their names. Hover or oh my God. I don't know Trump Latinos. I don't know any of these people. I'm so happy I don't know who these people are. I know this dude is. I've seen him on Instagram. Isn't this that rapper dude? Yeah. I don't know who Trump Latinos are. 38 are prominent figures in conservative media or social media. Yeah, this dude ran for governor. I don't know. Yeah, Dinesh D'Souza, Monica Crowley. I've seen him online. Sean Spicer. I don't know these people. Yeah, Charlie Kirk. Roger Stone. There's Rudy. Broke as a motherfucking joke. Dozens of politicians have made the pilgrimage. These 44 are current members of Congress or state officials or candidates who ran or are running for those positions in 2022 or 2024. Byron Donalds, Vernon Jones. My God, who is this? I don't know who this is. Matt Gaetz, of course. Madison Cawthorn. Who is this dude? I don't know. That's Rick Scott. Oh my gosh. There's Rubio. This is disgusting. Oh, this is Giuliani. There's Ron DeSantis, Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz is getting challenged. Matt Gaetz. 35 of them received endorsements from Trump. Some at rallies in Washington supported Mr. Trump on January 5th and 6th that preceded the riot at the Capitol. How are they not under the jail? Many more have spread misinformation about the events of January 6th. I'm disgusted. Oh my God. Ugh. I don't know how much longer I can do this. This is killing me. All right, let's get into it. I said I was going to talk about this, and this is a little personal. So for the past, I'd say, week or so, I've been in a group chat, and I've tried to talk to some of my friends, and they don't seem to get it that when they share certain things, I have to ask them questions like, yo, where you get that from? Like, oh, who wrote that? Who's sharing that? And they don't like to answer that. Does it matter? Yes, it matters, right? I mean, truth matters. And anyway, there's this thing about, people who keep promoting accounts that are promoting conspiracy theories, and that they're just getting more likes, and the goal is to get more likes. So there's a podcaster that said President Biden was dying or possibly already dead. And this host on Newsmax requested proof of life. And a former Republican Congress simply asked, anyone else think Biden is dead? So I don't think that shit is funny. And, this idea that Biden died was refuted, but there are some counts that still continue to spread this lie, right? And so there are 10 accounts that sowed doubts. Several of the 19 accounts continue to sow doubts about Mr. Biden even after his public appearances, suggesting that he was terminally ill or that his handlers were using a body double. So, Laura Lomer, we just saw this person. She said her post, she's a social media influencer, and her post got 42.4 million views. Joe Biden is dying and final preparations are being made for him. Not true. So that's on July 22nd. July 25th, I'm going to be proven right when he dies too. Biden is terminally ill. Now you got 11.5 million views. So it's giving me the idea that, some of my friends who post or repost or share certain posts, it's possible they're posting that on their social media pages, maybe not, I don't know, to get views. But if you're, if all you're doing is getting views and likes, who are you? Charlie Kirk. Apparently the rumor mill in the police department was that Joe Biden was dying or possibly dead. 24 million views. Why did Biden bow out? He offered zero explanation. Perhaps what's more important than what he said tonight is what he didn't say. What? Alex Jones, owner of InfoWars. Is Joe Biden dead? 7.9 million views. There is no doubt. There is no doubt that it is not the real Joe Biden. That is not the real Joe Biden. 7 million views. I mean, Terrence Williams, we have the right to know if he's alive or dead. July 22nd, 508,000 views. Biden is sick and has stepped down. 146,500 views. Oh my God. So Charlie Kirk, the right-wing personality whose podcast consistently ranks among the most popular in the United States. I didn't know that. Was one of the first to popularize the idea on X that Mr. Biden was dead or dying after sharing a convoluted story in a post on July 22nd, viewed more than 24 million times. After Mr. Biden's national address on July 24th, Mr. Kirk stoked some doubts again, suggesting that President Biden had left much unsaid and asked, why did Biden bow out? All the accounts tracked by the Times and News Guard increased their follower counts since July 22nd, with some generating large spikes after their posts went viral. Mr. Kirk gained nearly 50,000 followers on X in the 2 days after he posted on July 22nd, an increase from an average of about 2,000 in the previous day. Wow. These influencers don't seem to lose influence where they get it blatantly wrong, said Daryl West, a senior fellow at the Brookings Institution Center for Technology Innovation. It just shows that people like to believe false information, even when they find out it's inaccurate, if it confirms their existing prejudices or their prior beliefs. So there are 4 accounts that acknowledge the truth more or less. Spoiler alert, the DNC will announce Biden died of COVID before he could address the country on his decision to drop out. She got 963,000 views. A conservative named Breck Worsham. And then lots and lots of disinformation being put out there. I fell for it too. Sources I've trusted for years burned me on Biden's alleged demise. The question is, what are they trying so hard to deflect attention from? Guaranteed it has everything to do with the Trump shooting. What? 1,200 views. My God. So 5 accounts ignored the news? What? Madison Cawthorn, what does he say? Anyone else think Biden's dead? July 22nd, 2 million views. And did not address that idea again as of August 5th. Just left it alone. Riley Gaines, a swimmer and activist. I don't know who this person is. Unless Joe Biden doesn't show sign of life soon, I think it's fair to assume he's gravely ill, if not dead. Who is this person? It's, again, it's not Trump. It's what he creates. This is what's so dangerous about Trump, is that he has these loyal followers that will repeat his crazy shit. I just don't. Speaking of loyal followers willing to repeat crazy shit, let's check out your boy. Now, if you are looking at what I'm looking at, you'll see a man who looks ashamed. And all this person said to him was this. I'm just going to rewind it, and then I'm going to pause it, and you'll see why his head is down. Because that's not a good look. If your head is down, that's not a good look.
You said the following. You had this massive wave of primarily Italian. You said the following. You said the following. He put his head down like, oh shit, you got me. The fuck did I say? And rather than apologize, he always doubles down on his dumb shit. Here we go. This massive wave of primarily Italian, Irish, and German immigration, and that had its problems and that had its consequences. You pointed to these problems as being higher crime rates, ethnic enclave.
And it's like when he drinks water, he has his his kryptonite. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh yeah, I'm doubling down now. You know what I mean? Let's get it.
Gives an inter-ethnic conflict. Should the United States have prescribed similar policies to what you're proposing now, including mass deportation, to deal with those issues?
Well, first of all, I also said there were a lot of benefits to that wave of immigration. But has anybody ever seen the movie Gangs of New York?
Yes, I've seen Gangs of New York. It is about immigrants who have come to this country and the natives who are in this country, by the way, who are also immigrants, are upset with these newer immigrants, and they prevent those newer immigrants from getting certain jobs. And so you have these immigrants who don't get opportunities to have certain jobs, who are living in squalid conditions, who never have opportunities for social mobility. In those situations, in that situation, yes, there were fights amongst immigrants, if you will, right? But that doesn't have anything to do with people who migrate to this country and they're looking to make something of themselves, and they invest in their own culture and their own people and their businesses, and they thrive and do well. So I don't understand his insinuation when he decides to throw in Gangs of New York, but let's have him talk.
That's what I'm talking about. We know that when you have these massive ethnic enclaves forming in our country.
What is an ethnic enclave? You mean communities filled with Jews? You mean communities filled with Koreans? You mean a Vietnamese community? A Russian community? An Italian community? An Irish community? A black community? An African community? A Senegalese community? The fuck is an ethnic enclave? And what are you associating with? Have you ever lived in an ethnic enclave? Have you ever gone to dinner in an ethnic enclave? You ever go to a celebration at an ethnic enclave? I don't know what you're trying to say, but it sounds racist as fuck.
It can sometimes lead to higher crime rates. What we want.
Why? Because this community is filled with people of a certain ethnic background, that it leads to crime. And what the fuck does that have to do with gangs in New York?
One is an American immigration policy that promotes assimilation.
Why the fuck do I have to assimilate into American culture? I can know the history of this country. I can get a job in this country. I can start an opportunity for others to get jobs. But I don't have to assimilate at all. I can still be connected to the country that I came from. I can still wear the garb of the country I came from. But to assimilate, like, are we not aware of the boarding schools where we tried to get native people who were native to this country, tried to get them to assimilate into American culture, and they were here before us? Like, they're still living through that, and you're talking about assimilation? Hillbilly, mind your business. Hillbilly, go talk to your people. Hillbilly, leave these other folks alone. Why don't you address the governor of Texas who is sending people across the country? Why don't you deal with that shit? But fucking ethnic enclaves?
No matter where you come from, you can become an American, but only if we have an immigration policy that promotes assimilation instead of doing things like what we've done over the last few years, which is have 20, 25 million illegal aliens just setting up shop here with.
The fuck is an illegal alien? How am I not a person? I'm an alien, so I have no country that I call home. I'm from fucking Mars. I'm not a human. I'm an illegal. So if I'm an illegal, then I should not be granted any rights because I'm not technically legal. And I'm not a human. I mean, these are things spewed out of someone's mouth who was a member of the American military, who graduated from, I believe, the Ohio State University, who graduated from Yale Law School, and this is a United States senator. You know, if he runs for this election, well, he is running, but if he loses, he is still a United States senator. Let that sink in. He can hold that job for 6 fucking years. Let that sink in.
With no control, no enforcement, and no real ability to police what's going on.
You said the following.
So this idiot was called out because he decided to make comments about a movie, Gangs in New York. And he's defending this unsubstantiated claim about immigration and crime. This is such an idiot. and I don't like to call people idiots, but he makes this comment about ethnic enclaves that spur violence and crime. And so Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio, the Republican vice presidential nominee, on Friday defended his past unsubstantiated claims about immigration, in which he suggested that early waves of Italian, Irish, and German immigration led to higher crime and interethnic conflict by citing the movie Gangs of New York. Could you cite a book? A fucking book. Why are you citing movies? Oh my God. Well, first of all, I also said that there were a lot of benefits to that wave of immigration. But has anybody ever seen the movie Gangs of New York? That's what I'm talking about, he said. We know that when you have these massive ethnic enclaves forming in our country, it can sometimes lead to higher crime rates. What? He continues, what happens when you have massive amounts of illegal immigration, it actually starts to create ethnic conflict. Since when the fuck they cared about ethnic conflict? It creates higher crime rates. I want to get what historians are saying, but historians and criminologists say there are no empirical studies to support claims like those made by Mr. Vance. The studies that do exist have repeatedly concluded that immigrants are less likely to commit crimes than people born in the United States. I'm going to say this again. The studies that do exist have repeatedly concluded that immigrants are less likely to commit crimes than people born in the United States. A 2023 study by researchers at Stanford, Princeton, and other major institutions found that since 1880, immigrants have not been more likely to be in prison than people born in the United States. And as immigration into the United States has increased, crime has decreased in recent years. Tyler Anbinder, a historian who wrote the book City of Dreams, the 400 epic history of immigrant New York, and served as a historical advisor for the movie Gangs of New York, said immigrants in New York during the film's time period and since have not committed crime disproportionate to their population numbers and have almost always been arrested at lower rates than natives. Immigrants are so happy to be in America, Mr. Anbinder said, adding that one of the main reasons immigrants commit less crimes than natives is because they don't want to be deported. Dumb motherfucker. I mean, I thought that was understood. It continues. Alex R. Picaro, a criminology professor at the University of Miami and a former director of Bureau of Justice Statistics, said Mr. Vance was also wrong to raise concerns about ethnic enclaves. Immigrants, regardless of their time period or ethnic background, tend to cluster in neighborhoods where they have relatives, know others who can speak their native language, and can feel secure in their new environment. What's very peculiar about these statements is that those ethnic enclaves do not breed crime, he said of Mr. Vance's stance, adding that they actually serve as a protective buffer from crime. This motherfucker, man. But in arguing that more immigrants lead to higher crime and ethnic conflict, historians said Mr. Vance was echoing arguments that American nativists have used since at least the 19th century to classify and marginalize some demographic groups as racially inferior genetically predisposed to crime and unable to be assimilated. Those negative stereotypes and misconceptions, once centered on certain Europeans, but more recently focused on Mexicans and Latino migrants, have fueled prejudice and led to more extreme treatment of immigrants by government officials, police, the courts, and the press. In Gangs of New York, the most ruthless killer is the nativist who disdains immigrants. The butcher, Mr. Ann Binder said, but Mr. Vance appears to associate the Irish immigrants in the movie with the violence, he added. Throughout American history, those who fear or hate immigrants have always wanted to speak of them and scapegoat them as bringing crime to America, Mr. Ann Binder said. What Vance is doing is not much different now. Like, for real, dude? Like, for real? Like, we're really about making immigrants feel like shit? Like, I got kids from Nicaragua, I got kids from Panama, I got kids from Mexico, I got kids from Ecuador, I got kids from shit, man. I've had kids from Togo, Benin. You know what I'm saying? I've had kids from all over the world, son. I'm so blessed to have worked in New York and to have worked in California. And like, really? Are we really going this far in saying that it's cool to shit on people because they don't come from America and they're not trying to assimilate? Like, I just feel like I feel like we're doing ourselves an injustice. You know what I mean? Like, you use you don't remember the butcher from Gangs of New York? The first thing you go to is this idea of like the tension that Leonardo DiCaprio's character had. I don't get it. I really don't understand what's wrong with this guy. This guy is crazy. He's literally insane. And a graduate of Yale University Law School. All right. Yeah, it's been 2 hours, and I thank you for those who are bearing with me, continue to support the show. That was weird. I was kind of nervous when I was starting it because I think the show has become personal to me, right? It's my opportunity to let people know that this is the shit I love. This is what I care about. I really care about politics. I really care about this upcoming election. I really want Kamala to win. I want her to have an opportunity at the seat of power. And this is where I get upset. You're expecting Kamala Harris, the first Asian, the first Black, the first Jamaican, the first Indian, the first woman president to change the entire social structure, political structure of America. Her first election as president. Barack did a bit, but you expected Barack to move a whole ass mountain. I'm not expecting Kamala to move a whole fucking mountain. I'm not expecting Kamala to come in and then just invite a bunch of Palestinians into the White House and like we're all gonna like, you know what I'm saying, just send a bomb and bomb parts of, Israel. I'm not expecting that. I am expecting her to at least allow some form of challenge to her policies. But I don't like how Biden just kept he was like, no, Bibi's my homie. I'm like, we're not rolling like that. You can still say, okay, we're going to support Israel, but you don't have to support Israel like blindly the way I felt, Biden was doing, and we don't have to elect Trump. Like, that's not America. That's a time in America that's in the past. There's a time when you can say all those things that Hillbilly said. JD Hillbilly, that's his new name, right? You know what I mean? Calling him JD is too cool. I'm just calling him Hillbilly. There are times when what Hillbilly said is actual, factual, acceptable. American racism, that's how it is. Ethnic enclaves, you know what it is, man. But that was not okay. And immigrants lived in a country that didn't give a fuck about them. That has since changed. And we're on to something bigger and better. And we're not going back. And a reason why I know we're not going back is because this motherfucker was actually held accountable. And I'm very happy that he finally got his just due, because it was fucking crazy that it went on for so long, and it seemed as though no one was going to acknowledge the elephant in the room. He lied about college. He lied about his resume. He wasn't abundantly clear about how he was getting some campaign donations and how he was funding certain things for himself personally. We didn't know what kind of job he actually held, like his actual resume. But the Republicans needed the votes in order to decide who'd be the speaker, and they refused to do an investigation with their own resources. They let him just sit in the halls of Congress. So then who else do they know about? And they're not going to say anything about. I'm so sorry, the Republican Party is just not to be trusted. The Republican Party of now. And so here you have George Santos.
Pleading guilty is a step I never imagined I'd take. But it is a necessary one because it is the right thing to do. It's not only a recognition of my misrepresentations to others, but more profoundly, it is my own recognition of the lies I told myself over these past years. It is a confirmation with these truths that have flooded me with deep regret for the choices I made. I'm taking responsibility because I have to. There's no other way around it.
I think my favorite was when he said, I'm also Jewish. And they're like, oh, who's Jewish in your family? He said, oh, I'm not actually Jewish. I'm Jewish. I'm kind of Jewish. And where was the Jewish community? Where was Jonathan Greenblatt to call that out? So George Santos, the disgraced former Republican congressman from New York, whose penchant for lying led to one of the oddest sideshows in modern U.S. politics, pleaded guilty on Monday to wire fraud and aggravated identity theft, and admitted to an array of other frauds and deceits. I love how they say array. That means many. You know what I'm saying? But his pleading guilty ensures that he will face at least 2 years in prison. Mr. Santos repeatedly insisted, where am I? Oh, I'm sorry. Where am I going? Mr. Santos, no, I'm going too far. See, I have it highlighted, the certain things that I want to say. Mr. Santos repeatedly insisted that he would defend his innocence in court, only to reverse course as the opportunity approached. His bravado was replaced by an ill-fitting jacket and words of contrition for several scams involving money laundering, making false claims to Congress, and fraudulently claiming unemployment benefits. Damn. Yeah, we heard him. We heard what he had to say. I don't want to read what he said. Mr. Santos' sentencing is scheduled for February 7th, meaning he will not have to report to prison for at least 6 months. And the guidelines call for him to serve between 6 and 8 years in prison, though a judge could decide to be more lenient. So that's something that I used to do, downwardly depart. Try and get a judge to downwardly depart. So you would have to come up with like things this dude has done positively, and he has to have a convincing reason why he chose to do what he did, and he doesn't have one. Mr. Santos also agreed to pay a total of $373,749.97 in restitution to a variety of entities, including donors whose credit cards he used without authorization and the state unemployment fund he fraudulently received benefits from. He will be required to forfeit another $205,002.97 before his sentencing. Mr. Santos will need to come up with the money for his final plea deal to go through, and if he is unable to do so, his property may be seized. Oh no. Prosecutors had been preparing to call as many as 40 witnesses. Oh, you know you're in trouble, including Mr. Santos' donors, co-workers, relatives, and his co-conspirator and former campaign treasurer, Nancy Marks. Yeah, that sounded like a good look, bruh. Yeah, let me see. All right, this the big homie, man. Very proud of this brother, man. Breon Peace. Known Breon for years, man. I'm so proud of him. What did Breon say? Today, for what may seem like the first time since he started his campaign for Congress, Mr. Santos told the truth about his criminal scheme, said Breon Peace, the U.S. Attorney for Eastern District of New York. He admitted that he lied, he stole, and he conned people. He is worthy only of infamy. All right. There we go, Breon. That's what's up. I want to read it at the time. At the time, he was heralded as a new kind of Republican, young, Latino, and gay. Mr. Santos was a proud adherent of former President Donald Trump, who embraced his attention-grabbing style of politics and widely debunked claims of election interference. But even before he was sworn in, Mr. Santos' lies began to unravel. In December 2022, the New York Times reported that much of his biography and aspects of his campaign's finances appeared to have been fabricated. Last year, Mr. Santos was charged with 23 felony counts for a number of schemes, including stealing money from donors and lying to the government to cover his tracks. He originally pleaded not guilty to the charges. So, for a while, Mr. Santos remained defiant and seemed to revel in the attention engendered by his fall from grace. He threatened retribution on Republican lawmakers who turned on him and began selling short, personalized video messages on the app Cameo, earning hundreds of thousands of dollars. He also began filming a documentary. What? All the while, Mr. Santos dismissed his criminal case as a witch hunt, echoing Mr. Trump's defense against his own legal troubles. I'm going to get back to that. On Monday, oh my God, Trump and Santos' lips are moving. Wow. That's amazing. On Monday, Mr. Santos admitted to all the conduct he had once denied, from using one donor's credit card information to steal $11,000 for his personal use, to persuading other donors to contribute to what he said was a super PAC supporting his campaign. Mr. Santos also admitted to falsifying campaign finance records to include a $500,000 loan to his campaign that never existed in order to qualify for financial and operational support from the National Republican Party. Ms. Marks, his campaign treasurer, previously admitted to having helped Mr. Santos falsify the records. She pleaded guilty to one felony count in October and faces up to 4 years in prison. God damn. And Mr. Santos admitted to committing unemployment fraud during the coronavirus pandemic and lying on House financial disclosure documents to inflate his wealth. And we'll get back to one thing here that he was echoing Donald Trump. Defense against his own, that it was a witch hunt. Listen, the only difference between George Santos and Donald Trump, Santos is gay, Santos is Latino, and Santos is not a billionaire. If he was a straight, cisgendered male, white, billionaire, we wouldn't be having this conversation. He would have never pled guilty. And he would have been able to have connections to judges that would have helped him. But he, for some reason, forgot who he actually is. I don't think he even knows who he is personally because of all of his, I think he actually has a mental issue. But I digress. Speaking of mental issues, we're going to end this evening on a high note. We're gonna take a look at some tweets on X that Trump put out via his Truth Social app. I don't follow him. I read his shit. And the reason I read it is, and this is his post. In summary, Trump Daily Posts serves as a vital link for Trump supporters. I'm not a supporter. But it enables me to stay connected with his political narrative, offering a direct line of communication that bypasses traditional media scrutiny. What? What's wrong with traditional media scrutiny? You know what I mean? What's wrong with being fact-checked? Which aligns with Trump's strategy of maintaining direct engagement with his voter base. That's not direct engagement with voter base. That's just called lying. That's a sophisticated way of saying it's cool to lie. It's cool not to be fact-checked. You know what I'm saying? So that was August 15th. Man, this dude. So Trump reposted this from RFK. Vice Presidential Harris's Democratic Party would be unrecognizable to my father and uncle, and I cannot reconcile it with my values. Which uncle? Ted? Who are we talking? Oh, John? John in Maryland? What are we talking about? Oh, Pops? Oh, Pops when he was Attorney General and allowed Jacob Hoover to do what the fuck he wanted? That dude? The Democratic Party of RFK and JFK was a party of civil liberties. I don't know. I think it was more of Lyndon B. Johnson, but okay. And free speech. I don't know. Vice Presidential Harris is the only party of censorship lockdowns. I mean, during COVID? Censorship? Like, what did you say that should be censored as maybe the idea of taking a dead cub and bring it to Central Park and then making it appear as though a bike hit it. So you fake a crime scene, you bring a dead cub from one section of New York into the city. You keep a dead cub in your car. You don't report it to any authorities. You mean that value? Medical coercion. Yo, dude. He needs medical coercion. He really does. Kennedy Democrats were anti-war. Is that what we're doing? Bay of Pigs, anti-war. Kamala's riddled with neocon warmongers. I know this ain't RFK Jr. talking shit. The RFK JFK Dems. There are no RFK JFK Dems. They're not. They're not. Or you're talking about your family who is disowning you, like those Democrats. Not your ass. We're allies of Main Street. What? Bruh, this ain't 1960s, bruh. Like, that ain't where we are. So, we don't need to hear anyone talk about JFK, RFK Democrats. We're talking Clinton Democrats. We're talking Obama Democrats, right? But we're not talking RFK, JFK Democrats who are allies of Main Street cops. What the fuck? You just chose to join a man who decided to try and have an actual coup, and police officers were killed in the process. And you're saying he respects cops? Firefighters? What has Trump ever done for 9/11 firefighters? I don't know. I lived in New York there. Mugs weren't looking for Donald Trump after that happened. At all. Shit, Jay dropped an album and donated money to 9/11. What did he do? And working people, don't act like your family is a bunch of working people. Don't do that. Ted's working people. Didn't he cheat on his final in Harvard? Almost got kicked out. Stop it, man. And I'm not here shitting on the Kennedys. I'm acknowledging that the Kennedys were human beings that made mistakes. I am not here to elevate Camelot. I'm not doing that. Neither should you. Yo, find your inner John. Sit back, relax, go do something else with your life. Be a Kennedy, be fly. Keep your head up. But all this other shit about Main Street cops and firefighters and working, fuck you, man. What are you talking about? Nothing. You're not. James Brown talking loud and saying nothing. Vice President Harris's is the party of big tech, big pharma, and Wall Street. Man, if big tech, big pharma, and Wall Street existed to the extent, that it did when your parents, your father and uncle were in office, and they would be down with them too. Stop it. But keep in mind, your daddy was a bootlegger. That's where you got your money. Or your grandfather's a bootlegger. That's how you got your money. So they didn't have to be down with that shit. But they were down with the mafia, weren't they? Isn't that how your man got elected? Because a bunch of people who's in the graveyard, whose names are, given in order to get elected. Stop playing with me, man. My dad and uncle's party. Yo, stop with this shit. My dad and uncle's party was a champion of voting rights. Lyndon B. Johnson was a champion of voting rights. Stop it. And fair elections. Stop it. Like I just said, the mafia shit, and you talk about fair elections. Vice President Harris is the party of lawfare? The fuck is lawfare? Really? The party of disenfranchisement? Like, how? How are Democrats a party of disenfranchisement? Oh, because they're challenging your ass in the courts. So that means you're disenfranchised. No, you can't claim to have a room at someone else's house and think that we're going to believe you. You need more people. You already lied and said that so-and-so is your landlord, and they're like, he's never been a tenant in my house. And the coronation of its candidates by corporate donors and party elites. Oh my God. I've used our nation's courts to prosecute corporations who hurt black Americans. Vice President Harris is black, by the way, right? Use our nation's court to mercilessly prosecute black Americans and exploit them for their labor. Yo, man, this dude needs to... Are you fucking shitting me? Are you fucking kidding me? You just said Vice President Harris used the nation's court to mercilessly prosecute black Americans. Oh, because you the savior of black Americans now. All right? You're the white savior. You use the court's... My father and uncle prided themselves... Which uncle? Prided themselves on their skills at debate. Ooh. And their ability to articulate a coherent vision for our country. Harris is not articulating a coherent... She's vice president, bitch. What you mean? What you mean? You were born in the White House, my nigga. Like, she worked to get there. You did nothing to earn the right to even sit in the Oval fucking office. You were born with a silver spoon in your mouth. She was born in Oakland in the 60s. Don't nobody care about you, bruh. Be happy Cheryl loves you, man, and you living in Los Angeles. But all this other wah-wah shit is crazy to me. VP Harris is scared to debate and can't survive an unscripted interview. Instead of outlining a vision, she relies on mythical tactics. Wow. Memes, forged headlines, and infantile slogans. Joy. And name-calling Republicans are weird. Dude, they are weird. Dead ass. And it resonates with how people feel. And what's wrong with joy? We're running from joy right now. Being joyful is infantile. This is the country that we're living in. I've spent years battling government corruption and lies. VP Harris spent years gaslighting Americans about the health of our commander-in-chief. Oh, so now we're talking about people's medical conditions. And now you're buying into the conspiracy theory that something is wrong with his health. Even if it is, it's none of your fucking business. What she did is what Roosevelt did, which is cover my legs. I'm not in the wheelchair. You're in the wheelchair. I'm just at the podium. Like, she kept that shit close to her chest. I don't understand why. I have no plans to endorse Kamala Harris for president. She don't want your endorsement. I do have a plan to defeat. What's your plan to defeat her now? What's your plan? You're not even in the race no more, bruh. The fuck is he talking about? Let's move on. Oh, Byron. Byron, according to Donald, you're tremendous. You're a tremendous champion for Florida's 19th congressional district. Trump thinks you're a true patriot, thinks you're a fighter for the people of Florida and all Americans. By the way, he didn't choose your ass to be vice president. He played you and had you run around national television thinking that he was going to pick you. You were not the one. You were not him. But I digress, because according to Trump, you worked very hard to secure the border, to stop inflation, to support our incredible military vets and protect our always under siege Second Amendment and restore the American dream. Byron is a great leader and has my complete and total endorsement. Okay, we know you don't have to make that post, but you probably had to make the post so you're trying to align yourself with a black man who has disdain for his own culture. I mean, this brother, I can't even with him, man. I thought that was funny. All right. Comrade Kamala's father was a Marxist economics professor. Is this really? Oh, sorry, at Stanford. You forgot the Stanford part. He was a Jamaican man who supported the country of Jamaica, I believe, because they were trying to assert that Jamaica has natural resources that they should use for their own people. And this capitalistic idea is only going to make certain people in Jamaica rich, and these politicians in Jamaica are extremely violent, and they're going to have us killing each other all for what? For capitalism? And that's what Bob Marley taught us. Like, you put this out there when the Bob Marley movie was made, bruh. Like, how stupid can you be? Is this really what we want for our country? See, there he goes. Our country, as if there's something different for him because he's Jamaican. And he's not connected to our country. I guarantee he knows more about economics than you do, bruh. You think he's just going to walk into Stanford? Okay. It would be the end of America. No, your election would be the end of America, and you know it. And you don't care. You're going to jail, bruh. You're going to jail because you're not going to win. Okay, let's get ready for this one. This just makes me laugh because, like, I used to look up to Van Jones. I thought he was dope. Good looking brother, bald head, glasses and everything. I was like, this dude's got all the accoutrement. You know what I'm saying? And he got, he was removed from the White House. And okay, I feel bad for him. But I remember one moment where I didn't. I thought something was wrong. These dudes were trying to heckle him on the street. And they're all white dudes. And he said, oh, I thought you were all like, I thought you guys were all friends of my baby mamas or some shit like that. Like, it was weird. Anyway, he started kissing Trump's ass, and I couldn't support him anymore. So I think this is funny. Oh, and he got booed at the rally, right? Because those folks, there's a rally for the folks who were kidnapped in D.C. in Israel from October 7th, and he tried to stand up for Palestinians. He just got booed. And I don't feel bad for him. Anyway, lightweight political commentator Van Jones begged me. Now you're looking crazy, Van, because he's saying that you are on your hands and knees begging Trump while in the Oval Office and with tears flowing from his eyes. Oh my God. Now you a begging, crying Negro, man. It's what Trump is saying. To help get criminal justice reform approved by the United States Senate. Well, shouldn't you want to do that, Trump? Shouldn't you be proud of that? I got it done with conservative help in this lowlife. Damn. Jones never once called to thank me or the others that helped for what we had done. You know that's your job, right? It's your job to do shit like that. But, you know, old girl from The View, it's like black people don't trust you. Along with opportunity zones, the long-term funding of historically black colleges, universities, and much. I want to know what the much more is. I've done more for our black population than anyone other than perhaps Abraham Lincoln. Than anyone? Like, you as president, you as a person, because, like, I think MLK's done, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, Medgar Evers. You know, the list goes pretty long. Sorry, but that's the way it is. That's my joint, though. And this is great. Commies stick together. And it wasn't like Van Jones said anything. The Hill said Van Jones praises Harris's economic agenda. Thank goodness. And that's it. So I am done for the night. And this is the longest episode I've done. It's 2 hours and 40 some odd minutes, but you know, I want to say thank you to my haters, right? I want to say thank you to the people that gave me the wisdom to cut them off. I had a friend ask me, lose my number. I was like, I bet. Another friend I had a block from social media because of all the trolling that they're doing about the upcoming election. Thank you. I'm so glad I'm not having to see your ignorant ass shit anymore and me responding with intelligence and then you choosing to just continue to say racist, ignorant shit as a man of color. And to my Canadian friends, my fellow Canucks, you know, hey, you think you know what it's like to be American. You think you know what it's like to live in America. You think you know about American politics. Listen to one when he's trying to tell you something. If you care. Next time, listen. And to my favorite Trump supporter, I wish you the best with love and affection. But unfortunately, I don't think it's a good look right now for y'all. Anyway, I can't wait to come back to talk to you about how Trump is just dying inside, right? Because it doesn't look good. Kamala's looking amazing. We're coming off the DNC. And so our next episode will deal with August the 20th to August 27th. And if the DNC fell on the 19th, then we'll start from the 19th, right? Because I really need to hear how he and JD Vance are addressing the convention. It's crazy. Anyway, with that being said, yo, peace. This is DJ Elbow Greasy, and this is Tuesdays with Trump. I appreciate y'all for coming. Be good to each other. Peace.